event to get better. So after this event, you should all be walking, driving, whatever you're doing, home, thinking, I might have just got a little bit better. Certainly not better in terms of, and when I fight the next tournament, I'm going to win, but better in terms of, I've got ideas now of where I'm taking my fighting, and I'm going to go and apply those ideas, and next time I come to night school, I'm going to be then absorbing another tier of information beyond what I absorbed last night school. So this is like my 6th night school, 7th, something like that. And it's a privilege to be up front rather than where you are. But I certainly spent my fair share of time sitting in those seats too. And it's awesome to come along and hear all the different perspectives and ideas on that journey towards better, whatever that means. So when I was asked to come along and run this class, my first thought was, why the hell do you want me to come and run a class, Tully? That's a crazy idea. And that's because I haven't been fighting, right? Those in Victoria will be able to solemnly attest that they haven't seen me for quite a while, and it might be a surprise to some of you that I'm here. And look, honestly, that's just because life sometimes has other opinions on what we get to do. And it's a privilege to get to dress up in silly costume and fight, and some of us don't get that privilege for whatever reason. But at the moment, I'm privileged to be able to offer up some ideas. So I said to Tully, what can I show these people? What can I offer? And the thought was, well, there's some stuff from two-stick fighting that might be relevant, particularly to the up-and-coming two-stick fighters. So great work, Gershon called us today, moving our game a little bit forwards. But that's a bit boring for you lot, right? Like, so what? Because that's, that's that weapon system over there. As long as I don't have to fight it too much, I'm cool. So the challenge for me today was to kind of move that towards, what can two-stick fighting give to you? Bruises. That's like for bruises, yeah. And that's an interesting question. That one really got me to thinking. What has two-stick fighting given our format? Now, when I asked the other two-stick fighters, I jokingly said to look awesome, and they went, yeah. And I'm pretty sure that's one of the big reasons why I sort of got into it, because I'd seen it on TV. And that looks awesome. That's really cool. I want to be cool. Didn't succeed, but that's all right. But if I fight with two-sword, I'm going to suddenly get that. Right? But that's a pretty shallow idea. And if that was any reason why we're doing it, I think we'd probably lose interest pretty quick from the bruises and other things. But it turns out there is something in two-stick fighting that keeps some of us going, and those things are inherently different, because we can fight sword and board. I enjoy fighting sword and board, absolutely. But I choose to come today and use two-stick. What is it that makes me want to do that? And how can I give that to you without saying fight two-stick? Because that would also be boring, right, if we all did that. So I thought it's a good opportunity to ask you, what do you think two-stick could give you? Nightmares?
Frustration.
Frustration? Okay.
When we fight other swords and boards, it's where you keep in your I think we get to have a look into the world when we're fighting electric, for example, because it changes the way that our brains think, the way that we orientate ourselves. Then when we're fighting a two-stick over, we've got two angles that we need to look after in different ways. Like, we've got certain tools to do against a shield, we've got certain tools against a sword, and it's not just flipping them, it's getting rid of one and replacing it with the other. So making our brains
I like that answer. That's pretty good.
Right? Because, like you said, constantly fighting, you attack different places and different timing. Right? Like, the fight has a beat. Fighting against a challenging fighter, the beat changes. That's right. So the things that you will do against a sword and shield, because you know that it's a beat, won't work against your sword, because they've got an extra beat. So that's, you've got to change up to what you do and think. It gives us a learning opportunity to come in.
From a philosophical point of view, perhaps, you guys stick to what you do, even though I consider it probably had a harder learning curve lower down. Whereas sword and shield fighters, generally sword and shield is the generic, everybody starts here fighting style. and often stick with it because it's comfortable. It's the method. Having you guys pass on that, for want of a better term, that joy that keeps you fighting two-stick and us being able to play it sort of shield. So it's more than just a method. We're getting that extra sort of boost from it.
I find, even though we only did this for 3 minutes the other day, I found that very motivated me and tighten the technique. Any little tiny flaw, that's quite exciting.
And that was reflected, wasn't it, with all the statements about frustration and nightmares. That's these guys are going to capitalise on their mistakes more than anyone else, guys, girls and others, and I need to be aware of that they're bringing that to me. We were talking a lot today about our backgrounds, and part of my background is in martial arts and in karate, and onagashimasu, the idea that we will do honour to each other by presenting the best threat that we can. Two-stick fighters are going to bring that even when they don't intend to, just by virtue of suddenly opening up another half of the body to attacks that you just can't switch hands in the middle of a fight very fluidly otherwise, unless you're a two-handed fighter. So I think that's a really good point. Any other ideas?
Just to expand also on what people said, as a sword and shield fight against a two-stick fight, it forces you to expand your analytical skills and your weapon awareness, and because I think some of us, like especially like newer fighters and stuff, you're not so much worried about shield, you're more worried about sword. So it's really easy to forget that shield is the most very similar to harm, which you don't understand. So having two-stick fighters, and it's forcing us to look at both sides, both hands of them, feet of them. It just doubles your awareness of everything and forces you to have that analytical skill and clear.
Sort of building off like Nathan's point, Kamara's point, and a little bit of what Ty said, it's like that threat assessment kind of thing. And the second point is, it feels like there's a higher degree of variance in the styles amongst the Florentine or two-stick fighters than there is, like.
I was literally just saying that.
Yeah. So
more diversified than I fight two-stick. I've got no idea what I'm about to say.
Yeah, so you might have a toolkit to, against a lefty, I face the weapon here. Against a pole, I take this kind of guard. Against a Florentine, it's like, well, who is it? Am I fighting you? Am I fighting Corvus? Am I fighting Malgren? Am I fighting Ulf? Crispin? It's just, there seems to be a lot more variety, which then goes back to threat assessment. Well, who's ambidextrous? Who's whatever hand dominant? You don't use thrusting tips, do you? So that's another aspect to the fight as well. Sorry?
We'll come back to
It's
that.
called palmist.
We'll come back to that.
It's pretty much just expanding on most of that. It's like the value we have of having another weapon system that we actually get to work against and use our, decision making and having problem solving and whatnot. Just it makes us a better fighter. Just because you don't always fight the same right-handed fighter with a shield, or the same pole-arm fighter, or a two-handed fighter, or this person that's coming with a buckler, sword and buckler. It's like it's another variety, and we need more variety. And it's good to see more people teaching and sharing that, because a lot of times, like, the big limiting factor is like not everybody is going to just grab things and naturally start figuring things out on themselves. They need a bit of guidance to kind of take those first steps, and then a lot of times the environment will kind of create itself after that. But that initial thing, because I had that problem with trying to teach people polearm, and it's like if they don't have some fundamentals to go in certain ways, it's like I didn't know enough to teach them that bit. But once you get them crawling, and stumbling around, they start walking once you start giving all those instructions. So yeah, it's really good.
One of the things I found was just coming back from a recent break after surgery, so I couldn't fight for 3 years. I came back, and in the interim, Corvus had come along, and having the ability to come back in, fight my former regular opponents, walk forward, sword and shield, but having Corvus in the mix really made me pick up and get much faster because I had to think about things that were coming out of it.
To be fair, I kept jumping in a dark alley. Outside of
The
practice.
flights were fantastic.
I never did.
No, you didn't do that. That's good. Anyway, but it was just that it gave me a bit more, it sort of engages my brain a lot faster than just coming back to the games again. Which I'm not saying that like I was coming back and going, right, this is boring. It was more just that this is what I'm used to. Coming back to something that was different was like, oh, this is fresh and exciting. You get asked it, but hey.
All right, I'm hearing some strong themes. Is it along the same line?
I think each fighters kind of fall into different genres almost at times. And I think my genre is defense first, wait for the gap, and then fight. And I think when I'm fighting someone who likes long range, they like sniping, or they like a more offensive fight, it works really well because I'm able to find that. But when people pressure me and throw lots of volume, I kind of fall into that defense mode, and then I am looking for that timing. But one thing that's become very apparent when I'm fighting Corvus, like, is there's a lot of volume, but it's like twice as much volume, twice as much beats. So I'm not looking, I can't just wait for that beat or that breaking the time because he's just ahead by like 4 then 8 then 16, you know, like, so I have to throw, and yes, I'm going to get hit a lot, but if I wait, I'm just going to die anyway. So then that sort of mentality, pushing through that uncomfortable to find a position so that I can actually survive or win a fight, is something I can then directly relate against Nathan when he pushes me in sort of forward. So I think that is sort of
All right, I'm gonna press forward. There'll be more opportunity for you. So there's quite a few new faces, and I've been away for quite a while. So I'm Earl Gilbert, if you haven't already figured that out, and I'm also Earl Marshall, if you haven't already figured that out. And, you know, you wonder why someone would be Earl Marshall while they're not fighting. You know, it's part of that ability to keep giving back and can't do other things, right? But yeah, it really got me to thinking about that journey towards the fight I am today. And when I started, when I first picked up 2 swords, the commentary that I received as a fighter was extremely negative and hostile. Our premier event in Victoria explicitly banned the weapon system that I preferred. You know, that's unchivalric, was the message. And to my knowledge, any time that's ever been challenged is when I happened to be Crown Prince at the time. I said, I'm fighting anyway. If you want to call me unchivalric, you can say that to my face. I fought in that tournament. And it made me reflect as well that there are many other fringe weapon systems out there that maybe are in the same place that Florentine was when I started. So maybe part of what Florentine can give, it's a bit like the journey for many minorities. You know, think about LGBTIQA+ communities, for example, is really breaking the mold that this is what we do and this is how we do it, and saying, no, we just have a structure and you do you. And as long as you're not hurting other people, then I celebrate the difference and the diversity that comes into the fight. So looking at other fighters and looking at odd weapon systems and challenging yourself to go, they're bringing something into the fight that I wouldn't get were this another sword and board, is something that I think can be shared. But I think we can get more practical than that. It's very philosophical, I think. So I want to sort of dive a little bit more deeply into the practicalities of it. And so I guess that got me to thinking, why do I like Florentine? It's a pretty good question, really. And I struggled to kind of answer that, and the best answer is why not? But then I thought a little bit more and thought about some of that background, and I actually came from a background in tennis. I really enjoyed tennis, and I was rubbish at tennis. And I came from tennis into fighting. I got the bunny round like we all did, and I got to fight some fighters, and I was very good at the tennis-oriented shots. Ever I do a test that maybe the power could be turned down even a little bit. And so, you know, I kind of worked the right hand and I worked that kind of focus fighting. And then someone pointed out to me that I looked a bit like a fiddler crab. Does anyone know what a fiddler crab is? You've seen them? They got the big claw and then the little claw, you know, and everything that I was doing was the big claw, and this was almost just getting in the way. I used that for dinner, and otherwise it had no clear role. So the shield sort of became a background device. Somebody already kind of alluded to it. I don't worry so much about the shield, I'm looking at the sword. You know, I fought that way. I don't really care about the shield, it just gets in the way of their shots occasionally. I'm just trying to kill you. What's the advantage of the shield then? If it's not really part of my fight, it's just getting in the way. Why don't I just have two swords and then it's better? Right? Why not? It makes sense, right? Everyone said that's a really bad idea. My sigil is an octopus, and I talk a lot about it. And my fighting moved from the fiddler crab to the octopus. Who knows what octopuses eat? Fiddler crabs, yeah. Right? So that kind of idea of I want to be the predator. I want to eat what I was before. Drove me forwards to pick that weapon system. But of course, you probably already realised, and someone talked about the harder path, that not all is rosy using two-stick fighting. You know? What are those limitations? Why don't we all just use two-stick? Because you've got more weapons, right? That's good.
No, you have far less defense, so for anyone coming into the opening, you're going to get hit a lot.
Why is that?
There's physically less material to block with.
And unlike with the polearm, when you've got range to play with, you are engaging people at sort of broad range as a general rule, so you are going to be there. Like I found when I first switched to, well, I went from greatsword to two-stick anyway, but with the two sticks, it was the left leg just got lit up because I didn't have anything to just drop down as a shield. I don't have to worry about it. It had to be really intentional. Swords coming in, I've got to track and actually need it somewhere, not just drop my hand.
Okay,
Which
so
makes it sound unskilled, but
do
obviously.
we all agree that Florentine fighters have problems with leg defense? Put your hand up if you think that's true.
Oh yeah, the dead.
It's definitely a problem with the weapon system, guys. If we look at the sword, it has some innate properties. Let's have a look at those properties together. Let's do a little bit of analysis. I'll call forward my heavy sword and board for a second, and we'll just have a quick look together at what happens here. So I've got more weapons, I've got more kill. This should be beautiful. And so I walk up to my fighter. Everly Florentine can get equipped faster. We come into our fight. This is beautiful. I'm throwing some stuff in here. Let's go. Okay, that's great. And there it is. Yeah, I actually did. That's good. But I mean, probability-wise, there's a bit of an issue here, isn't there? We've got some probability of defence, and we've got a lot less probability of defence, somewhere between 0 and some very small number, right?
Yeah. Unless you punch down like the
Yeah.
Like this is fundamental to this weapon system. Like if we don't start here, we're kidding ourselves. Because I didn't tell Erland what I was about to demonstrate, and I was able to demonstrate that first shot. So I know exactly what the flaw is in this fight. It's very easy to bring that out, right? So we've got to work on that. All right, that's number one. Thank you. Number two, what else is wrong with this picture?
It's two vertical lines, lots and lots of holes.
That's really good for blocking things, right? I can put myself in my little hat.
I think it looks great.
I'm a trusting chip. What do you do? Oh no! We'll get our southern border. We'll do another scenario. Welcome us to go up this picture. I'm coming inside fire. Making some pressure on. Here we go. Oh jeez. That didn't go very well, did it? What can I do about that?
Move.
I can move, so can he. So we're going to play the running game.
I didn't say back.
I'm not very fit right now. Okay, what else can I do? I can get something in the way. What's the problem with that? What's the problem with that? What is that? This is my hitty thing.
But you've got two.
I know, but I've had to just give away one straight away just to not die.
So hit him with the other one.
We'll come to that. but the point being, like a shield, when I have a trust, when I come with that, giving nothing away. There's no loss of offense there, right? Maybe a 5% loss in offense, right? Whereas I do this, you could argue in somewhere in the city with 50% if I'm not dead. So it's statistically not great. Bit of a problem we need to work on. Alright. There's a third one. Has anyone got an idea? There might be more. Those are the two that immediately jumped to mind. The third one was a bit more hidden.
new two-stick player, they just do not have the luxury of a lazy everything they can work at.
That is my third point. I phrased it slightly differently and I alluded to it just then, but that is the third point.
I think that will be.
No
what
margin
I
for
said is a new two-stick fighter are not given a lazy defence. They have to work at everything.
Everything is
And there's a cost.
everything has a cost.
There's a cost.
The way I would frame that is, whenever I offense, less defense. Whenever I defense, less offense, right? Every shot you do against the Florentine, they're doing that calculation in their head going, do I give away some offense for this, or do I not die? And that's all happening. We were watching the 3-minute fight within the second. It's, do I give something in this, or do I back down? And you make the wrong choice, and you just die. And that's not a good outcome if you want to win.
I know the advantage of the system. They don't have to make a shield. It's making shields.
Yeah, it comes from.
You have to wrap two swords.
All right, I think they were 3 things. Has anyone got a fourth thing? 4 and 5. Because I'm here to learn too. Yeah, go on.
Less people to teach you.
Yeah, good. That's a really good answer. So I did have that earlier. Someone else alluded to it. Why are all Florentine fighters so different when you fight them?
There's no one to show them.
Same
They don't have a school of training.
They figured it out for themselves, guys. That's what's happened. You know, like we come to these things and we do a bit of coaching. When I was doing it, I grew up in a household of Florentines, and the thing was basically, yeah, just go and hit them. So we had to drive the bus.
Sounds so like
Anton had to shake the butt. You know, that's what we got, and then just hit them. You know, and it's taken a long time for me to create a structure that is a little bit more translatable to English than that. So they've all walked the path pretty much independently. It means they come up with technology sometimes no one else has used. Some of that technology is crap, but a lot of it's just different enough that works. So I think that's an awesome answer. Yeah.
I think that like Italian manuals to work from you see the two-hander, they come from different paths as well, but yeah, there's hundreds of years of like actual manuals on how to use them.
Yeah, and I was like, Florentine, it's not a real term. You go and check it, and then I googled it. Oh, it's actually, it's from Florentine.
We did that at he did that at breakfast.
They did actually exist, and they did actually document it. I should probably go read that. Cool.
And the other one was just slosh.
Against the
Mize.
Yeah, I suppose. So I don't have thrusting tips, right? So there's surely a whole lot of shots that I've compromised by not having thrusting, which is probably true. But one of my favourite shots is absolutely something along the lines of this, where we come across this way, we go that way, hello, there's the trap. Elaine? You like that one, Alright, so that's my favourite shot. Small problem here, like so many of these ideas, is okay, I hit the shields. What are you going to do? You can do that, but I have to do that. I'm going to into some sort of shortened into the body, right?
Molyneux
Some sort of Molyneux.
Short stick to the ribs.
I've been hit there and there a lot because I've put something out there, done something like that, and there's a shot in there. Like, doesn't even need to be a thrust because the line's strong. That's strong. That's strong. I'm not worried now. Whoop, yep, that's not. But as soon as I go open, I'm very, very weak. Yeah. So yeah, 100%. Very, very good answer. So 5 things. 6 things.
You trying to make us feel sorry for Florentine?
It's all psychology.
You gotta make it have fun.
No comment.
Walking fun.
There's that awesome meme of like he showed up with the forest enthusiast back. I agree with that meme entirely. It's not that good cool at all. There's no good reason to do that. Don't do that.
Unlike sword and shield, any weapon and shield, Florentine just don't have a passive defense. Shield you can just go
You do.
and move, but I would see it as a lot.
Some more than others. Some more than others. I think yeah, I take your point, but I mean if I were to fight and then I do something like that, I've got some defense.
So,
You're gonna have to do something to make me kind of express.
I think he's more to the market because I would agree. Like I think with the shield, it's not like lazy or like passive. It's
it's really.
Oh, you mean better? You mean better? Yeah, that's definitely better.
Super efficient, I can just go, yeah, it's
There's a lot you can do with one of these, and then I picked one of those up and went, there's a lot more you can do with one of those. 100%. And you can change the
But
shape of the
I'd say that the Florentine has to be more accurate.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, 100%.
We can try showing you can do more for the sword. Because we already have a sword.
So, what? Like, okay, so it's a kind of dumb system, and you should be really sorry for the idiots that do it. Hey, I can just get a shield, so exactly. So where am I going with this? Like, am I trying to convince you I'm an idiot? No. There's a logical then next step, right? If we can all figure that out in the space of 10 minutes, right, then you'd think after about 10 years of fighting, I've figured some of that out. Not just in terms of like inherently my weapon system isn't as good as yours, but how do I level those odds? What do I do to move my weapon system from subpar to par? And you can see in the way this conversation's gone that we started with people talking about nightmares and horror and frustration, and then we just had a really solid session. We all agreed that it's a really dumb weapon system. There's just something wrong with those two being next to each other, right? It can't both be true.
It's the application.
So there is some applications we can do to level the odds that balance the strengths and weaknesses. And I want to go through those with you because they're not just for two-stick fighting. They work really well in all the other forms. It's true. I've tried it. I love fighting sword. But I don't think you would ever find what I'm about to show you doing swordball. Honestly, I'm going to put that on record because I do things that I haven't seen anyone else do it, and I'm sure they work. So the first one I want to look at is blocking and attacking. I do want to do one quick special shout out before I do that. So I'm going to grab my Florentine X-Hat over here. I'm going to grab my sticks, and I'm going to do something, and I'm going to see if you guys can spot what I just did. Alright, so here we go. We're going to go slow. We're going to go quarter speed. We're just going to reshape like this. Very good. This is all looking good. Alright. Yep, cool. Alright. There it is. There it is. Did you see that? There it is. Did you see that? Did you see that? Ah.
Blocking multiple with one hand.
Cheese sticks. Why do I have cheese sticks? Do you want to know the honest reason why I have these? And you will be able to guess.
Because you couldn't be bothered cutting them down.
Yes! I made my sword and I was like, it looks nice on the end. I can't be bothered cutting that off. You know, why don't you all have one of them? That's something here, right? Because that's just a standard sword length. It's like going to line up against the sword.
Catch on the line of my shield.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Like a little one's not too bad.
that's what she said.
But it's how you use it, right? But I think if it was any longer and you had a shield, if you're a close-in fighter, doing internal, it's the ability to trap yourself.
I don't think so. But nay, I can show you. It is not so.
It's actually probably just because no one else has it, so therefore I don't have it.
I reckon that's the right answer. So here we are, we're like this, right? And I come into my fight. Yep, we block. It's not getting in the way of anything, right? Where's the problem here? Pow. Right? It doesn't. But only when you've practiced with it. If you just try this without practicing, yeah, you're going to hit yourself, you're going to get tangled up, it's going to go very pear-shaped very, very quickly. So I think that's what happens. I think people have a stick on the end like this once or twice, they get all tangled up and they go, oh, it doesn't really work, and then they cut it off. Eves came up to me one thing and went, that looks like cheating, and then came back next year with like things like that. Like, yeah, I like this stuff. And I was watching, using it in two-stick and using it in sword and board, and I'm like, oh, it's even longer, it's actually not getting in the way. You just have to be aware that it's there. What's the consequence of that? Well, I guess the consequence of that is you have to practice to use it. It's not just for free. In much the same way that making a bigger shield isn't just innately better. still have to train with it. And vice versa, a smaller shield can be better, but you have to train with it. If you have a shield like this and you cut it down and you go to a tournament, you block and you just get hit in the face and you go, oh yeah, it's that much short, it doesn't work, right? So we've got to train to it. So that's just a little side comment on that. I will regularly block with these, and often fighters will go, why didn't you take that? No, it was blocked. Sometimes I question myself, I go back to the footage, like, that's a cool little block. And then you can take that. So G6, definitely good. Alright, probably a side point. Where do we go from here? Okay, yes, I don't have a shield, but I've noticed that. So I have to do something about that. What is the thing that I do? I block. And the way that I block is with a sword. Because if I block with my head, apparently that counts as a lethal blow. So I have to block with the sword. And I have to block with the sword a lot. Every time you throw a shot at me, I've probably blocked it with my sword. So if you count up how many times I've sword blocked in a fight versus you, odds are it's not because I've got two sticks that it's more, it's because I don't have a shield, and it's significantly more. And you might think to yourself, well, that's just a flaw, right? But actually, it's not. Because when somebody attacks your sword, they're giving you some energy. And they're giving away some of their defense. So if I take that principle and flow with it, then instead of every attack being a problem for me, every attack becomes something I can work with, like play. All right, what are you giving to me this time? Okay? So I want to kind of talk through how to find the clay. And I'll grab my the drill we were just working on. We were just working on it. Those that have seen me fight and do things will know this drill because I've done it a few times. But what I want to sort of go through is the sort of process of discovery of all of these blocks. So we'll just go one stick first. So we start here, we can do it. Oh, look at this. Here's a cool thing two-stick people work out really quickly, is my brain hates having to inverse the thing. When I find another two-stick, I have to just mirror. That's good. That's great. Okay, so we come in and we're just going to go into the attack. We just do that. Cool. Alright. Here we go. Okay. Now, why is this advantageous for a shield user? Because at any point, I've now got a position where I can alternate, I can alternate into the alternate time by switching out my sword for my shield. So it looks a bit like this. So 1, 2, 1, shield, block, bang. You've all done that shot, right? But if you train the sword block, it actually becomes second nature. So the way that we find that is we just take the shield out of the equation, and we just keep doing this sword, right? Then we start using the other hand as well. So now we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. We don't have to do that. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's when I lost the thread. That's when I would have died. See that? That's me out of practice. So we want to keep doing these drills to the point that we can really start fully analysing our opponent's fight without ever jeopardising our ability to move into these attacks and blocks. Does that make sense? So if you are a shield fighter, that drill is really good. Okay? You can't do that drill with a shield. It doesn't work. You need the opponent to give you the timing.
You can. There is actually a version, a single step
You
version. Parada, rather than a Senawali. That's a Senawali. Parada.
Okay, and then the next thing that we discover with Florentine is that if this is all about technique, we do have a slight problem we talked about earlier, which is a little bit like this. Right? And there's the leg gone. So, we should probably start training for the leg shot. So we're going to go head, leg. Okay. Head. Oh, Alright, have you ever done that block in your life? Some of the two-handers are like, oh, yeah, I know that block. All the sword board people go, why did you do that block? Okay, and I'm not sure it's very useful for sword board, but it's incredibly useful for two-handers and two-stick fighters. And I only discovered that because we were doing this sort of drill and I was practicing the other leg block which looks like that. Close up. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. It doesn't work as a leg block, right? It's not just a passive thing, I have to work that leg block. And after a while you start getting tired and you're like, I can't.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. I'll just put somebody in the way. The fighter that taught me this book, it's not here today. He's a left-hander. It's quite good, also. And he likes to throw that shot there, that one, a lot. It looks more like this. Just keep throwing it. Yeah. I wonder if anyone could guess who this fighter is.
I'm married to
Wolfers. He'll throw that leg shot 6 times in a row. Has anyone ever experienced that? Yeah. That one time you move your shield going out of the way, you lose your leg. And I knew he was going to do it, and I didn't want to have to take my sword out, so I just stayed there. I just went like this.
And doesn't he start doing things?
He does, that's exactly right. And look at the effort. Look at the effort I'm putting in right now. Here we go, we try that again. Alright. Cool, alright. This is alright. Alright? He's doing a lot of work and I'm not. And then you go, alright?
He started as a foreign teacher as well.
Yeah.
That's what for everyone's knowledge.
Yeah. So these are real blocks. They're real and they work. I don't think we would know that if we just did sword and shield because they're not as effective as a shield. But maybe there's a situation for a sword boarder where that saves your life. I'd love to see that one day. I challenge all you sword boarders for me to be watching a tournament one day and you're just like going like this, you're like leg shot, nothing, block! Oh, here we go, I'm still in the fight, alright? Okay, maybe strategic enough. Okay, so I'm happy to take any one of you through all this in person at night school when we've got the little session. Just come over and go, I'd like to do a little bit of tippity taps, and we'll go through that together and we'll sort of work through some of it. I'm glossing over a lot of detail right now in all the parts, just thinking high level about what two-stick gives to fighting.
That shot, it's not exactly the same, the land is possibly throw that shot and then you shoot and under and you do that off.
That's the Catan special for throws, leg shot, and things with blocks.
Cool, I'm looking forward to seeing it out there. Yeah. Alright, okay. Still on the subject of blocks, thinking about the idea of taking the block as a gift, alright, and using it like play, we start to discover when the only things we've got are swords that there are different ways to model their shot into what we want. What am I alluding to here? Okay, I want to pick on Elaine for this one because this fight is gorgeous. And I just want to watch it. I knew it. Okay, so I'm fighting against a very capable fighter, and I come in and Elaine throws something at me. Ooh, I'm safe. Okay, what's Elaine do for me? Oh crap. And how fast is that? Okay, alright. So what can we do about that? Number one, we can jump up. So try that again. Here we go. What's going to happen there? Oof. What you get? See that? And you can actually pump it. So watch this. Sing a song. Yeah, Elaine's very capable. I suspect if I do that to Elaine, he's gonna use that energy right back at me. Okay, so be careful giving them too much energy. So there's that one. There's another one. I can kill it. See that? So it comes in again. Who likes receiving a block like that? No one. Yeah? And then what's the options from here again? Whack. Two-hander. Lots of options there. Okay. And then the last one, that. What did I just do? Yeah? Okay. And my favourite trick of that is power, we grab the sword. Go on. Now, your sword's counted, your shield's not filling me, and I still got a weapon. Yeah? So, when we're thinking about the blocks, it's not just the most efficient orientation, which is really important. So efficient orientation is blade to blade in that zone sort of here, I reckon. If you can get it in on the basket, that's pretty cool. And if you've got cheaty sticks and you get it down like that, that's super cool, because it just dies if you do it slow. Like if you get that, look what it does. It's great. But that's a little risky, because if you miss time, then instead it just does that. And you're done. Okay, so how do we find those things? That same drill we're just working on, right? But we intentionally change the rules and we say, okay, I want to now do, I call it soft blocking and hard blocking, right? And if you do it in a two-partnered strategy, you'll quickly discover the response to that technique as well as the technique. So as I get better at taking your energy out, or throwing your weapon to the side, or spinning it over my head, you also get better at adjusting your return back into something that works. Right? I think that's something that Florentine finds just innately have to do a lot more work on. So go and find them and work with them, you'll see that there's probably a little bit more nuance in the way they're using those sword blocks than what you perhaps need to do. But if you put that nuance into your fight, you get the advantage that they've worked very hard to discover. Cool? And I'm always happy to share it because I just think it's cool. It's not really about winning or losing. What do we think about that? I think that's pretty cool. Alright, and then what, we've got 3 or 4 minutes, is it? What we're aiming for? Because it's 2:56, well, it's 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
But I've done a little bit extra.
Yeah, you can go to that.
Okay, cool. Is that one very good? Okay, the last point that I want to make isn't really about the swords so much anymore, but it's really necessary when we're doing those drills. What am I talking about? Cardio, yeah.
You get to exhaustion.
Exhaustion.
Not very
Timing. Point after the last bit of making. The Macarena. It's your body. It's not your arms. Florentine fighting is body fighting. Arms just confuse you. Many of you have come up to me that have fought me a few times, but how did you just do that? And I'll just show you. I just moved my arm at the moment that you were trying to work out what I was doing and waited until you started watching it. It's like this. Yeah. You come in. It looks like this. Here it comes. Alright. Ooh. So make it really hard to stop. See it? Okay. If I try to telegraph that with the arm, no one buys it. If I do this, right? I've got to sell it. Right? Yeah? Okay. So the body is the thing doing all that work. And there's less area to hide. With a shield I can hide behind it, but with swords you can see all my tricks, right? So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to bewilder and confuse you with these things while I try to kill you. And look at to move your attention. If I turn this way, move your attention onto one of these swords. And when I see your attention snap onto it, I hit you with the other one. It's a magic trick, right? So the way to find those things is through the body mechanics, and two-stick fighters will innately find that on both sides of their body, which then innately means there's more of like a core understanding in my head. I use either stance very comfortably. When we fight with a very one dominant position, we fall into a dominant body, like a fiddler crab. And so we might always like to fight with our silver cord. We might always like to fight with our silver cord, right? But for Florentine fighter, well, that's the same thing. In theory, practice different. Okay, yeah, right? So it's just whether the foot's forward, it doesn't actually change inherently whether there's an advantage or disadvantage. And so the process of just using swords to train will lead you towards the use of your body as part of your defense as well as offense as well as subterfuge. So it's a really good thing to put some training into to find that mechanics and then pick up shield and actually put it to use. Cool. Any questions on that? That wasn't that much to understand, was it?
Thank you, Jade.
Yeah, I was basically like, if I go into retirement for another 5 years, how much can I just brain dump on you now? And then see when I come back in 5 years how much of it, you know.
There's not usual one of the other day on the video. Is that too much to add to this, or does that kind of go into the plane concept?
Which one?
Where you're talking about behind the time, like
Timing. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Yeah, so it was like, oh, what's the thing you can find timing? Yeah. And then I was like, oh, that's the last point. That's because the next class is on timing. So everything I've just shown you all flows into what you're about to learn about this idea of when the sword comes, I can be ahead of it or behind it or at it. And then obviously Florentine fighters are using that simultaneously. They're choosing, oh, as it comes in, I'm going to meet time with that hand, but go off time with that hand. And yes, I'll then off time, counter time, that movement. So instead of it just being 1, 2, it starts to look more like 1, 2, or it's really 1, 2.5. Right? Similarly with the block, I can alternate the timing of that between an on-time block that comes out to me, so 1, or an off-time block where I go and 1. From the same body position, I'm here, and the sword comes in, on time, off time. I can then set the tempo a little bit more easier. I think that's where the frustration with Florentine fighters comes in, because you all come into your fight going, I'm going to get him, and then immediately I start moving your tempo out of time until you're feeling dragged down, and then finally the shot comes in just outside your tempo and measure, right? But I think the next class is going to really unpack that quite well. Yes, good point.